The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
This is Cowboys Storyline with Nick Eatman.
What's up? Welcome to Cowboys Storyline. I'm Nick Eatman. It's Friday, March the 7th. Yes, it's Friday. We've moved some things around. Different schedule this week. We appreciate you guys adjusting accordingly. And let's talk some Cowboys football. It's been a week already. Big news, I guess, Wednesday. Really, the big news was Tuesday when the Cowboys re-signed Osa Odighizuwa. And that's a surprise. It's a surprise to me. 4 years, $80 million. I got $52 million guaranteed. Those numbers are surprising. The timing of it all is even more surprising. Cowboys not waiting till the last minute. I know there's a thought process that that's what they do. You remember, it takes two to make this thing happen, and Osa wanted to be here. Osa wanted to be with the Cowboys. He wanted to return, so much so that he didn't even go to free agency. That's very telling. That just how much a guy wants to be in the building and wants to play for this football team. Could he have gotten more? Maybe, probably. There's a lot of people out there. He's young. A lot of people out there with a lot more money than the Cowboys. Yeah, he probably could have done that. And I think that's what kind of took it even longer than I thought it was going to be, because there was a time when we were in Indianapolis for the Combine that it looked like this was a done deal. I mean, Patrick Walker had a story ready. We were ready to roll. This was going to happen. Then it carried on a little bit. I think the agent not shopped the deal to other teams, but maybe talked to other agents. Is this the right move? Well, you should wait for them to put the franchise tag on him, because they were going to put the tag on him. Got down to that final hour. The Cowboys got a deal done. Now they have a defensive tackle in Osa Odighizuwa that they really love. I know Matt Eberflus is a huge fan of Osa, and now we'll see. He's got to take that next level. Probably one of the biggest contracts you've ever seen to a player that hasn't made a Pro Bowl. So this is a contract of what he's going to do. All contracts should be that way, what they're going to do. All right, 888-855-2297 is the number to call. And I'll say this: we've added something a little bit different in our app. With this new feature now where you can chat inside the app. It's a little scary. Keep it clean, please. But you can chat in there. You guys can chat obviously among yourselves and ask questions as well. So we've got that monitored. We may throw a question or two or seven or whatever in there today. We'll see. That depends on you guys. We know we have callers. We're going to start with that. Brian in Kansas City is first. Brian, what's up?
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Right.
Hey, it was good to see that you had I don't know if you were a front row, but you had a good seat for Zack's retirement.
Front row.
Yeah, you were in the front. It was hard with the way the camera angles were working.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't tell if you were in the front row. I thought you might have been.
Yeah. It was front row off to the side. Got my question in about Larry Allen.
Yeah.
That was I don't know about it was that emotional, but it's sad. It's a sad deal, because you just those are the type of guys that you just think are going to be there forever, and they're going to be playing at a high level forever, and then you just get surprised when that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Did you get your handshake?
I did. I got my handshake. Thanks for bringing that up. And he remembered. He kind of laughed. I'll tell that story again if I need to, but after your call. But yes, I got my handshake with him.
So I don't know if you remember this, but during the year when he went down injured, I kind of thought, we've probably seen the last of Zack Martin. And I mentioned that back in I didn't know when, but remember they did that series of mean tweets.
Oh, yeah.
Well, guess what? It was his rookie year that they did that.
That's right.
So and I had to paraphrase the one that he read, but it's my favorite Zack Martin memory because it's just hysterical. So this is the one he read. It says, John Q. Cowboys fan. And he's reading it, and he's chuckling as he's saying it because it's so funny. I like the Zack Martin pick, but it's like getting new socks for Christmas when you wanted an Xbox One.
Yeah.
And he's just, he's such an easygoing guy. He's just laughing as he's reading that.
Well, I wonder who the Xbox, who the Xbox, and man, is that sad that was the Xbox One that was his rookie year, and I still have an Xbox One. That just goes to show we need to make an upgrade. But anyways, yeah, but I don't know who the Xbox was. Aaron Donald. I mean, he was that year, and he was drafted a lot higher than that. Odell Beckham was in that draft, but I think Zack Martin is Xbox worthy. For sure. A lot better than any socks you would see.
No kidding.
Pick. Great pick. It was one of the best picks in Cowboys history when you think about it. I mean, just drafting a guy where they did and how much scrutiny was around that pick, even inside the war room. That's been talked about, obviously. But what a career.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. He is. When I was listening to, so I don't know if you saw the coverage of what Romo said. Did you hear what Romo said about him after the?
Yeah.
That he'd never seen anything like that, where somebody just came in and on day one was the best person he had ever seen at that position.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's unbelievable. I mean, it's the closest thing to Larry Allen that we've seen. As far as that position and that dominance. I'm not talking about what they look like, how they play, what they bench press. I'm talking about playing the position at the highest of levels. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's just an unbelievable player, and I always loved how he handled the media, his interviews. He would do I don't know what Brad Sham and Christy Scales call that. What do they call that radio show that they do once a week during
Cowboys Hour.
Cowboys Hour. Yeah. He did that a bunch of times. Always just a really congenial guy, telling you how it is. Very, very fan likable. He just had that kind of persona about him, as opposed to, you've seen all kinds of people go through the organization. You've seen them up much closer than we ever get to see them, that not everybody's that friendly. Not everybody's enjoys talking to the fans and giving the fans a little window into his world.
Okay. No, he was the best. He's the best. We're going to miss him. Brian, did you have anything else?
My only other question is I'm going to stick with the offensive line today. My only other question is I think the only person we got left, we signed Brock to a new deal. So my only other question was, and I know it sounds funny because I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but we actually ran the ball better when he was in there. Do we know if there's a plan? Are they thinking about bringing back Chuma Edoga as the backup plan to, if one of the tackles doesn't come through and play as expected?
Yeah.
And I'll hang up and listen, man.
All right. Appreciate it, Brian. I mean, Chuma was supposed to be kind of the, bridging the gap till it was time for Tyler Guyton to come in. And as it turned out, and Chuma got hurt some too, but he was better than Guyton in the whole year. Even later in the year when they wanted to still win games, Tyler Guyton wasn't the better option. So that was disappointing that he didn't take that leap that they thought over Chuma. You're going to sign, they're going to have some backup plans, some veteran guys. I think that they're hoping Awesome Richards can maybe be that guy too, where he can play some guard, tackle. I mean, he's supposed to be the younger version of what Chuma was able to do. So maybe that's the route that they go. But we'll see what happens. I say we see what happens in the draft. Obviously, free agency is first, but you'll Band-Aid the position with free agency, with the tackle or guard. I would imagine they re-sign a veteran. Maybe it's Chuma, maybe it's someone like that in that range, in that price range, and then see what happens. Obviously, with the draft. The story Brian was talking about with the handshake was just after the end of the season. He said, Zack Martin said he didn't know what he was doing yet. He wasn't making any plans on retiring. He hasn't made up his mind, and so. But everyone took that and started shaking his hand, said it was a pleasure, and I was just like, well, he didn't say that, so I'm not going to. And then he goes to shake my hand. I was like, no, we're not doing that. You'll be back. We're not doing all that right now. If it's time to do that, we'll do it. And so obviously it was. They were right. And then when it was time to, him to retire, then I actually gave the formal handshake. But going to miss him. Gonna miss him just as a person, just a cool, down to earth guy like Brian was talking about. That's what he was. But I think he's making the right decision. I think he sees the writing on the wall. He sees Tyron, Travis Frederick. Do you want to keep playing and risk injury? And I think that's when you have an all world type talent like that, and regardless of the sport, there's a standard that you play to. And when you don't meet that standard, it might be good enough to still play in the league and start for teams, but nobody wants to see that. Nobody wanted to see Michael Jordan there with the Wizards and playing like that. Nobody wants to see that. And I'm okay with that comparison. I'm okay with that. I even wrote that in my article about comparing Larry to Zack Martin. It's like I don't know where you stand on the LeBron Michael Jordan thing, but if LeBron is not Michael Jordan, it's still a pretty decent place to be. Number 2 all time. And maybe that's Zack Martin. If he's not as good as Larry Allen, okay. Well, you're the second best guard in the history of the Cowboys. The first is probably the best that's ever played. So that's okay. You've done well with your life if that's where you are. All right, let's go to Irene in Falls Church, Virginia.
Good morning, Nick. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Hey, so Zack Martin, congrats on the career. I would like to hear your favorite Zack Martin story if you didn't already share that. I only heard the last part of your comments from Brian's call. For me, I mean, it's not really a great elongated story, but I loved when he did they caught him on there doing the little dance after a play in the huddle. That was just like, oh, he has a personality. He's not just this serious, somber guy,
Yeah.
And then free agency. Okay, so, to be honest, like the Osa thing, if you go back, and I'm not going to stand on and be like, oh, I was for Osa. If you go back to listen to some of our spaces, I was like, Osa can go. But I'm proud of the front office for actually signing a player who, played up to his potential contract, I think he's like top 3 in a lot of stats that matter, pressures, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So win rate maybe. So I'm okay with that. It's way less than the franchise tag would have been, so that would have been
True.
Kind of a nightmare to just hold him for a year. So good for them being proactive. Lots of restructures here. I want to know, I think that they're going to sign Micah in a timely manner. Is that the feeling you have and the building has right now?
Okay. Good stuff.
All right, and that's all I got.
Thanks, Irene.
Bye.
A lot of stuff there. Favorite Zack Martin story. I don't have a lot because, he wasn't that type of guy. He's a guy you didn't even think about. You didn't even worry about. He's there. He's going to be great. He's going to make the Pro Bowl. He's going to be dependable. That's the way it was. I always thought it was funny, the 315 story, like when he would, and they didn't play a lot of noon games, especially at home. But when they did, it was always a thing that Zack, I think one time just yelled out, after the coach was done talking, it was probably Garrett, and he said, hey guys, guess what? It's only 3:15, which means they got the whole day to do whatever they want to do. And everyone just thought that was so funny that Zack Martin would do that. And then that became a bit. That was his thing. Anytime there was a game, now, not after a loss probably, but again, they're not losing a lot of games. If it's noon, they probably won the game and they were at home. And when it was appropriate, then he would yell out, it's only 3:15. So that was kind of his thing. I don't know. I guess you had to be there, but that was the thing for Zack. As for Osa, and like you said, kudos to the Cowboys front office for getting that done, and not overpaying. It's $20 million a year. That's still a big contract, but I think he's 17th. I saw that 16th or 17th in average salary for defensive tackles. So, when you think about it, he's probably right there. I bet he was close to making the Pro Bowl this year, maybe as an alternate. So when you think about that, that's, you get 3 defensive tackles for each side. So you're looking in the top 10. He's probably a top 10 defensive tackle, especially for his age, and he's still got a lot of football left to play. So that deal, as crazy as it sounds, probably isn't the biggest the biggest setback there. And then also my feeling for Micah, I get the sense that they're gonna get a deal done. I think like I said, it takes two sides. They want to get the deal done. He wants to get the deal done. And then, just like with CD, I mean, once Justin Jefferson went, now it's like, all right, there's a ballpark. And Max Crosby's contract just went down, so I can't imagine Mike is taking less than that. So, and I haven't looked at all the details on that, but I just know that those are the kind of contracts that are going to help drive this thing. So, yeah, I mean, the pieces are falling in place to get it done. All right, we're doing some. We got some questions coming in from the app. Now, these questions don't have names to it, just really more topics to talk about, so we can do that. One of the questions says, does re-signing Osa make it easier to get the Micah deal done? Not necessarily financially. I don't think it does. I mean, they have the money to get the deal done. And remember, the deal is going to lower the salary cap number for the Cowboys this year. So it's not like they've got to get these deals done. I mean, he's going to count like 24 million on the cap right now. So any deal that he makes going to save money. It's probably in the range of 10 to 11 million that they'll save. So I don't think anything needs to happen to get the deal done. Now, does keeping Osa, somebody in the middle that got 56 pressures last year, that'll help. Micah wants to play with a guy like that. He wants to play with a defensive tackle that can get up the field too. Because if you can get a defensive tackle getting up the field, when Micah gets around the edge, what do all quarterbacks do when you get around the edge? They step up in the pocket. Well, guess what? If Osa's sitting there also with the pressure, there's no place to step up to. Everybody wants that. Osa wants Micah and another guy on the outside. Micah then wants that guy on the inside. So from that standpoint, yes, I think that's important. It's important to have some guys that you're going to play next to in the middle of the field. But financially, I don't think it helps that much more. And then another question there. All-time favorite Zack Martin play? Again, there's no because when you think about Larry Allen, ask yourself that with Larry Allen. What's your favorite Larry Allen play? Well, most people will talk about an interception that Troy threw, and he chased down the guy in New Orleans. Now, there's been some other blocks, some crushing blocks. That's not really Zack Martin's game. There was a play that I remember. I want to say it might have been a rookie season for Zeke. I know it was an early game, probably one of those games that ended at 3:15, but one of those games against the Lions where there was a screen pass and Zack was out in space, and I mean, he looked like sunshine from Remember the Titans, just out there leading the way, blocking and running and blocking and running and all that. I want to say it was Zeke, maybe it was Pollard, but it was early. It wouldn't have been Pollard, but it was early in Zack Martin's career where it was like, man, this guy's special. But again, that's what made him so good. You don't have a lot that you really remember because he didn't just sit there and pancake people. He just did his job, did it better than everyone else, and did it for a long time. All right, Dustin in Waxahachie, Texas. What's up?
Hey, man, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, I just a couple quick things. So, one, I obviously didn't love at least what seemed like the public process for hiring the coach. But I'll just say the more and more you see of this coach, it's really, really hard not to like him.
Sure.
And understand why he got the job. So I'm getting more excited, and it definitely feels already this offseason that we're a little bit more all in than maybe we were last year, at least from the perception. The other thing, I wanted to see if you had a story after I tell a super quick story. I've met two people in public that have been associated with the Cowboys, both at the really large furniture store up in the Colony. And one of them that I happened to meet was Coach Gary Brown. And obviously so sad that what happened with him. And but I'll just say we met him the year after the Amazon series. And, my wife gets sick of hearing me talk about the Cowboys, but she watched a lot of that with me, and that was kind of her favorite character from the show. She's like, he just seems like a great guy. Mm-hmm. So I just went up, shook his hand, introduced myself. 45 minutes later, we're still sitting there talking to him because he was the most engaging human I've probably ever met in my life. Just a great guy, met his wife, met one of his kids, just seemed like an incredible human being. So I just didn't know if you had any Gary Brown story you might be able to tell about the time he was there with the Cowboys.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Dustin, appreciate that. Good stuff. And your first part about Schottenheimer and the coaching staff, I mean, they're winning the offseason right now. That's really that's what all you can do. Okay, there's no wins and losses, and a lot of it is probably the state of the team and where how it ended, and just the dark cloud that had kind of been over a lot of things. So far, it's been pretty positive, and even though he was not your first choice, I know he wasn't, because nobody ever called in and said that, myself included. He so far so good on the stuff that I'm seeing, the stuff that I'm hearing. Again, he hasn't had to make a fourth down decision in the fourth quarter of a game yet. We'll see. It'll all change once the season starts. You know, you would think, good or bad. It's just that's what you have to go off at that point. It's like any player, like, well, he's a really good guy. Like, okay, cool. Can he play? Can he play corner? You know, like that's all that matters. And so right now, Schottenheimer, though, he's been great. We had a chance to talk with him a little bit in Indianapolis. Had a lunch with him with some of the other beat writers, and it was very engaging and like seemed very genuine. What's your favorite food? What's your favorite music? What do you like here? Have you been, what? Just stuff like that. Just getting to know people. Just what human beings do. Now, it's that time of year to do that. Once the bullets start, flying around, we'll see how things go. But I so far so good on him and his whole staff. And then the part about Gary Brown, yeah, what a great human being. Such a sad story for him. He was a really, really good running backs coach, really good person. I mean, that's like you said. We did a series one time. We went to a barbecue place up the road, and we let the running backs sit and kind of chop it up, if you will. Zeke was in there, Tony Pollard. He was the running backs coach, and he was telling stories and talking to the guys, and such a really good thing. I haven't seen that in a while, but that was a cool feature that we did. We went to this place and lit it up and had them eating, but talking and telling stories. And we do a feature called Gut Feeling every Friday, and when it's rolling and the Cowboys are great and we're always picking them to win, and then it's fun and easy. But when it's not the case and we sometimes pick them to lose, then that can be a little bit tense, especially on a road game when we're traveling with the team and it's supposed to be all in here, and then here's 3 or 4 guys sitting in row 22 that they picked us to lose, so that can get kind of dicey. And he would read that, and he would come up to us and was like, "Did y'all pick us to win?" And we're like, not really, coach, and then he'd walk over, "Did you pick us to win?" And be like, "Man, it's nice weather here today." No, it didn't. And it was the one game in Seattle where he was like, they actually, I think he put that up on their team meeting and said, "Look at all 4 of these guys, all 4 of these riders. Nobody on your own team thinks that you're going to win this game," and they use that as a rally cry. They didn't win. They didn't win the game, but that's neither here nor there. All right. Another question here. How do you interpret Jerry's comments on needing to fill voids in free agency? Not needing to fill voids in free agency is what he said. This is from Josh in Princeton. So he put his name in. That's how you need to do it, guys, on the app. Put your name in here, name and where you're from, just like we do on the callers. That'll be a lot easier. And then, people can kind of know who you are. Good question, because it was an interesting statement. When you just break it off like that, and that's the headline, that doesn't sound good. I think listening to the quote, you kind of got a better understanding. He's not changing his thought process on the draft. The draft is still the most important thing. He's saying that once we get done with the draft and re-signing our own guys, he doesn't feel they'll have a lot of huge voids. That's just what they believe. They don't believe that you fill these voids in free agency. You put Band-Aids on things, but you don't necessarily fill the void there. They just feel like you're going to overpay for players. But we'll see. They've said a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily expect to happen. So a part of all this is negotiating as well. So if Jerry comes out and says, yeah, we're going to fill some needs in free agency, 100%. And so, well, what do they have? Well, they don't have a running back. So, this guy's available. Watch out for the Cowboys. The Cowboys might be signing him. I mean, why tip your hand on anything at this point in the year? So let's see how it goes. I wouldn't be surprised if they make some moves. You can call it filling a void or not, but I think they'll be making some moves for sure. Let's go to Randy in Texarkana. Randy, what's up?
Well, I went to an aquarium yesterday. I didn't stick around very long. Something fishy about that place.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
I think that is a really great, terrible joke. But you know what? I'm a dad, and I have dad jokes, and it was almost like I knew it was coming. All right.
Right. So, all right. So, first thing I thought of when I saw some of the coaching changes was the fact that the receivers coach used to be Cooper Kupp's coach, and Cooper had a lot of really good things to say about him, and so that got me excited, thinking, all right, maybe we've got a chance of going after Cooper in a trade, or if I'm not sure if he's been completely released yet or not. That's my phone, sorry about that. But
somebody's calling to tell you that was a terrible joke.
Yeah, they are. It's my work phone. I don't care. Anyway, but he seems to be injured a lot here lately, so I'm kind of excited about that. Hopefully, maybe. But then I see all these other receivers that are starting to drop out on the market, like Devontae Adams. Don't know if we can afford them and all that. But my thought is, should we, since they're toward the end of the season last year, our defense seemed to be a little above where our offense was. Should we go after more of a veteran receiver to fill that void of the number two, even if we have to spend a little bit of money to go after that, and use the draft to concentrate on young defensive linemen, running backs, stuff like that? Because you keep hearing about the defense being so, there being a lot of really good ones in the draft.
Sure. That's a tough one. I mean, what would you do? Because that you're not going to be wrong. I mean, so is that where you're leaning? You'd rather have a veteran receiver?
I kind of would, because I think with Dak, I mean, you never know with his hamstring. I'm saying, I know they've got him strung out for 4 or 5 years probably on the way that contract's going to lay out, but I'm saying 2 to 3 good years left to Dak before they start trying to figure out how to move on. I'm saying get him somebody now that's ready to plug and play, like a Devontae Adams, or just pick one of the big name guys.
Yeah.
So he can just come out and they can just get to cooking. Yes, having a cheap, young, fast, good wide receiver coming in is great, but they get the big eyes sometimes. The NFL spotlight. I don't know that our offense has 2 or 3 years to build a guy along CD. I would like for them to bring in somebody that can match CD right now and concentrate on defensive linemen and running backs and all that with their draft.
Yeah. That's a good debate, because me personally, I kind of feel like there needs to be more speed at the position. CD, as great as he is, you wouldn't call him a burner. Same with Tolbert. And same with really any of those guys you're talking about that are going to cost a lot of money. They're great players for maybe different reasons, but not so much take the top off type guys. So,
do you not think Turpin could handle that?
Not really. I mean, and because that's not his thing. Turpin, I'm not talking about down the field, because just think about it. He gets 3 yard separation on somebody. That ball comes flying in. By the time it gets to him or he goes up for it, then the corner's kind of put his arm out and caught up. That's just right. He's not a deep ball type guy. So I think there's a different role with him. I could see a big debate on that, of making a case of, hey, I want a younger guy, draft him, even first round. I know it's been talked about. I don't love the first round wide receiver option, but I could see them making a case for it.
Yeah.
So
I think they just have something against you or something. You've been asking for that speed receiver for 20 years now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We just haven't seen it. No, we have not seen that guy. So it sure would be cool. I'm talking like the Xavier Worthy type guy, you know.
Absolutely.
But you know, that seems like a 44. That seems like a second round wide receiver that can fly. He's obviously there because he's not the biggest or whatever it is, but I like a receiver there in the second round, somebody with a lot of speed, a playmaker type guy. I think you can get that player there as well. Like a Tank Dell, I feel like he was in the second round. Somebody kind of like that.
Yeah.
So, all right, Randy, good to hear from you. All right.
All right. Yes, sir.
Let's go to Steve. He's in St. Louis. Steve.
Yes, sir.
What's up, man?
Yes, sir. How you doing? How's it going, man?
Is this first call?
Yes, sir. I'm a first-time caller.
You know what that means? Here we go. All right. What do you got,
Hey,
man?
Nick, I just have a couple of quick questions for you, actually. The Jonathan Mango signing, to give up a fourth-round pick, do you think that was a bad decision on our part?
We'll see. I mean, he hasn't done anything yet. We will see. It doesn't look like the best move in the world, but I'm not. And like I said at the time, I'm gonna let it kind of play out. I'm not one. Please don't throw Debo at me, because you know the difference, right? You guys know the difference in why he gets a fifth round and Mingo got a fourth. It's all about contracts now. It's all about how much you have to pay. It's basically paying to get rid of a guy. Yeah, we'll give you that so you can take. We won't take a lot because you're taking a lot in money. That's kind of what happens.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just that I just think we have so many holes to fill. I think we could have did so much more with that pick, but I'm not going to be disrespectful with the guy.
Well, and that's fine. You know what? The next like pass that hits him in the numbers will be the first of his career. I don't know what it is about Mingo. Nobody wants to throw the ball at his hands, at his body. He gets more passes, and then this isn't just Trey Lance. This was Cooper Rush, and I'm sure it happened in Carolina quite a bit. Whatever the reason, he doesn't get a clean ball. What he needs to do is he needs to live at the Dak yard this year. If Dak is having players come out to his house to throw the ball around, he needs to be there. He needs to have his own code to the gate to get in whenever he wants. He needs to be out there because we have seen Tolbert being one, Cedric Wilson being another. You out there and practically live with Dak, you're going to be a better football player at the end of the year. We've seen it happen. He needs to be in that level. And if he does that and doesn't pan out and is not a good player, then it wasn't a good pick. Fourth round was not a good pick. But I think we got to give him time. That's my opinion on Mingo.
Yeah, I can take that. I agree with that. And a couple of quick more. A guy that I absolutely loved was Travis Fredericks. Do you think he's going to be a Hall of Famer since he had to retire early because of that illness?
Say that one more time. Which player?
The center we had, Travis Frederick.
Travis Frederick, yeah.
I loved him, man. And I just wondered, do you think he's going to be a Hall of Famer? I know he had to retire early because he had an illness.
Yeah.
So because of that, do you think he's still going to be a Hall of Famer?
I wouldn't think so. I really wouldn't. Great player. Like you said, didn't last long enough. Those center position is tough. I mean, think of it like this. Do you think Andre Gerard is a Hall of Famer? No, probably not.
Right.
But I think they have the same amount of Pro Bowls. I have to look that one up, but I think it's about the same. And that's for an offensive lineman. Pro Bowls and all pros, people laugh at the Pro Bowl all the time. It's not a big deal and who cares and all that. Yeah, wait till they start getting into the Hall of Fame talk, and then that for a lineman, that's all they have. You don't have a lot of stats. You've got were you elite at your time when you played, and here's one way to find out. Pro Bowl, all pro. And so, yes, Travis Frederick was that person. I don't think he played long enough. I don't even think he's Ring of Honor, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering because he didn't play too long, but I just thought he was a great player.
He was.
Okay, Nick, This is a real quick one, the last one. Do you know if they're trying to do anything with Turpin? Because I hope they bring that guy back.
Yeah, great stuff. Steve, call back again. Good stuff. Good to hear from you. Love to have first-time callers in there. Steve in St. Louis holding it down. Great questions. That last one on Turpin, they don't have to make any moves on that one until free agency, the first day of free agency. That's usually when they put in those tenders. He'll get a second-round tender is what I'm thinking is going to happen. There's 3 type of restricted free agent tenders. The last one is they basically called just an original draft choice. He wasn't drafted, so you would get no compensation. It's probably around $3 million a year. That's not happening because somebody will definitely pick him up and sign him to a deal. The second-round tender, it's worth about $5 million a year. What happens is, let's say the Titans, who's got John Fossil, sign him to an offer sheet, 3 years, $20 million. $6-7 million a year. Let's just say they did that. Well, and the Cowboys had that second-round tender on him. They could match it. They have the option to match that deal, or they can let him go. If they let him go, then they'll get a second-round pick in return. The Titans is an interesting one because they have the first pick in the second round. I doubt that's happened. In fact, it's never happened in the NFL. No team has ever lost a second-rounder to a restricted offer sheet. So they also have a first-round option. That's about, I think, $7 million a year, maybe $8 million. And I don't think the Cowboys are going to do that. So what'll probably happen is they'll probably just do the tender. No one will sign him. He'll play on this year as a restricted free agent for that guaranteed contract. Then actually, it's not guaranteed. To be honest, that is not a guaranteed contract, but it's probably he's probably gonna play on it, and then he'll be unrestricted after the year if they don't get a deal done. Remember, he's interesting. I'm gonna take a break here, but before I say that, he's interesting because he is 29 years old, but he hasn't played a ton of football. And he's what position is he? What can he do? He's really dangerous as a returner. You got to figure out the right role for him. He's still got a lot of years left, and he's still one of the fastest players in the NFL, if not the fastest. Let's take a break here on Cowboys Storyline. We'll be right back after this.
Discover Aiden, the official luggage partner of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Known for top-tier engineering and craftsmanship, Aiden offers more than just bags. Originating from Australia and designed in New York, it merges fashion, design, and culture. Used by Dallas Cowboys players, staff, and the entire organization, Aiden provides style and functionality for all travelers. Visit AidenTheBrand.com and use code AidenXCowboys for 25% off your purchase. Travel like your favorite stars with Aiden.
How do you tell the world about all the great gifts in the Yeti store? Let her rip, Troy.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the cruise. The Yeti French Press. Hot mix waterproof bags. Bags waterproof. Submersible waterproof doubles. Waterproof bags. World's mostly water, so get a waterproof Yeti bag. Do I smell something cooking? All new cast iron skillets made to be passed down like mama's recipes. Take your steak, cornbread, cobbers, pot pie, and potatoes next oval with 3 sizes of Yeti cast iron skillets.
Gear, gifts, and product experts. Visit the Yeti store on McKinney Street and at South Lake Town Square today.
Alltech Lansing has been perfecting sound since 1927, bringing you decades of audio excellence to elevate your Dallas Cowboys tailgate ritual. Equip your next pregame with the Sound Rover 180 with 6 hours of playtime, built-in microphone, multicolor light modes, and a rugged exterior that's built to last. Visit alltechlansing.com/Cowboys15 for 15% off your Sound Rover 180. That's ALTECLANSING.com/Cowboys15 for 15% off. Alltech Lansing, official audio partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to Cowboys Storyline.
Experience a fabulous shopping day at the Flea Style Market at the Star, presented by Marketplace by Michael, Saturday, March 22nd. For more details, head to thestardistrict.com. All right, let's go over across the pond. We're going back to the line here. Mike in Birmingham, England. Mike?
Hello, Nick. Hello, Nick. It's been a little while. Yeah. These Wednesdays aren't suiting me, so
I'm sorry.
Friday's much better. That's all right. It's like I said, you can't please all the people all the time. But no, over here, obviously, it's Friday early evening, and I've just finished for the weekend. I'm just about to leave work and be selectively aggressive on the motorway on the way home. And
I love it.
So yeah,
I love it.
It's a good time.
You know what's funny about that? And people caught that. It was selectively aggressive. That's the term. We always have to have a theme, right? Last year, everybody knows what the theme was, or even though it probably wasn't, all in.
Yep.
Now it's selectively aggressive. So we'll see. We'll see. I like the way
we'll see what it means.
I like how you worded that in there. Good stuff.
So before I get on to the important stuff, I was listening to I think it was Hanging with the Boys a week or two ago, and Chris was talking about a game of Fortnite that you and he had, and he said something about there being 19 kills, and he'd done 17 of them, and you'd done 2. I just wondered if you wanted your right of reply on that.
Yeah, that wasn't accurate. Those numbers are not accurate. I had 4 kills. Now, Chris had 19. He undersold himself. I think we had 23, 19 to 4. Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah. Chris is an assassin out there, okay? I'm just going to tell you. He's an assassin. That I don't feel bad about that one. No, not at all. That's like TJ Bass saying I'm not as good as Zack Martin. Okay. That's fine. That's exactly what I feel like there. All right.
Yeah. Speaking of Zack Martin, really enjoyed the press conference on Wednesday. I thought that was really nicely done and very fitting for a great player. So obviously we've freed up cap space, and there's a lot of talk about that. Quite a lot of people on social media, as they do, kind of getting quite carried away with that and what we're going to do. And it's coincided with all the the news of all the players that teams are releasing or seeking to let go on a trade. There's a chap in the that is being talked about, and I just think we've learned by now, especially from last year and all in, expectation management is really key here. We know what we were last year. It wasn't a good year. For us to be a contender in 25, so many things have got to fall into place. We've got to have the draft of the century. We need our guys to stay healthy. We'll need 1 or 2 trades or free agents that really come in and basically it's almost certainly not going to happen. But what we can expect and what we should expect and demand is some progress. And if that turns last year's 7-10 into a 9-8 or a 10-7, then we're in contention for playoffs. But I think it's very, very unlikely that we're in contention for the big one this year. And I think for my sanity, I need to kind of accept that. And even though I'm hearing about this 57 million, that's great. We can do some stuff with that. But we're looking 2-3 years down the line. Just wondered what your take on that is, what you think the cap space that we're creating is for, and whether you disagree. And actually, this can be the year. And I'll leave you with that.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the call for sure. Yeah, I don't believe that any team, unless you're just at the very, very bottom and then you're going to play with a rookie quarterback and all that stuff, it's going to be a challenge for some of those teams. But I think if you're in that group of, 7-10, 8-9, 9-8, you're in that same group. They're all about the same. I think you can turn things around, especially when you look at what caused what caused some of the problems here. Let's look at the issues of the 7-10. Injuries is part of it. It's not all of it. It's part of it. And they happen every year. They don't happen like that every year to the key players. They had 60-some. There was like 61 combined Pro Bowls of players that have made 4 Pro Bowls here, 9 Pro Bowls here, 6 here, 3. That's the guys. 61 combined Pro Bowls that were missing in games last year. All of their starters from week 1, all of their key starters missed at least a game or 2. So, they had 14 players that entered the season that had made a Pro Bowl. 14 guys. 11 of those guys missed at least 2 games. That's just key players that were out at key moments. You hope that it's just not going to be like that every year. So that's part of it. they had some issues with offense and defense at times, play calling, defensive scheme. So they're fixing a lot of this, or at least that's the plan, is to fix all that. So, they're making some changes, and you do that. You make a few tweaks here and there. You do some things that will extend drives. You extend 2 drives a game. That might be 10 points. How many games did they lose less than that? So I don't think it takes a lot to make some of those changes. To go back to you, and then also your question about cap space and all that. You have to remember that when you see that about how much cap space they have, and you'll see graphics that say that they have this much in cap space and 60 million or 70 million, go and find out how many players are being accounted for. Because I know one of those websites has them at 70-something million in cap space, and there's only 41 players counting on the roster. It's kind of a problem, Teams don't win with 40 players on their roster. It's not 53 either. It's like 60, 65. That's how many guys you need. That's how many guys you're going to have. Don't forget, you sign a player who's counting $3 million a year and he gets hurt in training camp, he's counting $3 million a year. Okay, nothing changes with that, even though he goes to IR. So guess what? You put another guy in here. He counts almost $1 million. So you have to account for some of those. I'm not saying that they don't have monies to go and do some things. They can do some things, but I don't think it's as much as you think. But I still, and I don't know if that changes their philosophy, but it should be able to do some. They should be able to do some things, and I think they will. I think they're going to be a little bit more aggressive than we've seen in the past. They're going to sign more from the outside than they have in the past, and rightfully so. Look at all the free agents they have. Do you need to just build on your 7 and 10, or do you want to get better from your 7 and 10? And I think you want to get better, which means there might be better players outside the building than were inside the building. You did it with your coaching staff, right? I mean, some of your coaches, Schottenheimer being one of them, moved up, but how many other coaches did you retain? 3, 4? So if you're cleaning house with the coaches, then why wouldn't you somewhat do the same with the players? It's a little harder. I get it from a cap standpoint, but if it's a free agent to a free agent, think of Rico Dowdle as an example. You want to bring back Rico Dowdle, had a good solid year, 1,000 yards, or you want to try to get someone better if there is that guy out there. So that's just an example. All right. Any other? We have another question here. This is coming from the app. Kyle from Sarasota, Florida. Any chance of Dallas front-loading Micah's contract to offset the dead money in coming years with other players? Nope. That's not how that works. Got to remember that dead money from those players are happening right now. Zack Martin, D. Law, Brandon Cooks. Those guys have contracts that are counting in money that's hitting the cap right now. So you don't and think of it. Micah Parsons is making. He's got a 5th-year option of about $24 million. There's a lot of talk on if they can get him to a deal. They'll say they'll cut his base salary down, but it's also his cap charge will be down, in the range of 13 to 14 million, something like that. So, he's not getting a deal in that range. He's going to get a deal over 30 for sure. So if he's counting 30 million per year, and it's going to be more than that, just let's say 30 million, and he's only going to count about 13. It's definitely not going to be front-loaded. This is going to be back-loaded like most contracts are. So, no, they won't do it from that standpoint. They have enough dead money that are going on cap, that are hitting the cap right now that they got to take care of. All right. Let's go to Larry in Kansas. Larry.
Hey, Nick. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. First-time caller.
Nice. I love it. I love the pause, too. Like, you laid out. You're ready for it. All right.
Right. Actually, I am.
You know it. Larry, what's up?
First off, wanted to go with a little bit of the Jerry hate that's coming around. I just thought that he's done mostly what he should have done since last year. No team wants to tell you when they're in a rebuild.
Right.
Certainly not a salesman like Jerry. But I've never heard any team do it. And when you move on from 2 starting offensive linemen and replace them with 2 rookies, you're rebuilding. I don't care what you call it. It's just what it is. And I think those were both the right moves. You can't keep paying Tyron. That's just not going to work out. You got to quit paying big money to these older players that you get less and less out of. And then Biotish, I always thought he was light. Seemed to really hurt the running game most of the time he was there. I think he's, good. Good luck to him in Washington. Hat off to him. Hope he does well, but not too much against us, of course.
Yeah.
So then when you do that, when you start a rebuild, now he got a lot of heat for not signing Derrick Henry. But you don't go sign an older running back to a big money contract when you're in a rebuild. You save that money. And I think that they did mostly what they were looking to do. Now, their roster kind of matured the year before. Got a lot of players that you just didn't want to re-sign. The only one you could really argue about would be Armstrong. But I don't know that you could have paid him with, they've kind of got some young guys coming in there to replace D-Law. And here, once again, don't want to pay big money out to D-Law. Loved him, but it's time. Got young guys coming in there, and let's just move on. I just think that they're in a pretty good position from where they're at now. You're only really down to a few positions here. I think you go get you a Kendricks-like older linebacker in free agency, bring you in Lewis, and you're not down to filling too many holes in the draft now.
Larry, don't start bringing common sense into the show here, okay? I mean, you're right. You make a lot of great points about the offensive line and the rebuilding and all that. And when you think about it, too, the guys, now that it's been a full year, the guys that they lost, I mean, Tyron being one of them, nobody ever comes back on that and say, well, they should have got Tyron, which that was the big thing. There's really not a lot of those players that you looked at and said, now coaches maybe they shouldn't have let Dan Quinn go, but from a player standpoint, no. I mean, you're right. I think they did make the right moves there.
Well, and even Dan Quinn. I mean, I'm sorry, but I remember when Overshone got hurt in the preseason there, and we had 2 real linebackers on the roster, and I'm like, well, that's that. You shouldn't have gone into the season with 3. You got to go get somebody. And I'll never forget what Dan Quinn said. He said, we don't need to go get a linebacker because in my defense, the safeties do the same thing. They cover the curl and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What about the run game? And while we're on that, I mean, it's what the Packers do, okay? They get you in, they run the ball down your throat, and when you crash the safety, they got you because it's not really play action for them because it's not a call. Love reads, the safety crashes, he goes over the top, and that's the way the Cowboys started that game.
Yeah.
They had no chance to stop that team. I think if they were still playing, Green Bay still wouldn't have been stopped from scoring a touchdown. And injuries just killed that team, and people don't want to say what it is, but you can't stop a running team that's going to play action you with one linebacker and a safety. You can't.
Yep.
Nobody put that where that belonged, but Dan Quinn should have been the one going, oh, well, yeah, we got to have a linebacker now. Well, they didn't, and then Van Der Esch got hurt, and they ended up with 1.
Right.
That was that.
So. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, so no.
So I think they're in great shape. Go get you a good wide receiver, get you another defensive tackle, running back, obviously, re-sign Dowdle and Lewis, and, man, you're almost ready to go.
All right, Larry.
Thanks, bud.
Appreciate you. Good stuff. 2 calls in a row. One from Birmingham, England, just wondering how far away they are. Expectations really aren't that high for this year. It's going to be tough to turn things around. Another guy from Kansas. Hey, couple pieces here and there, which I lean a little bit more to that way because I do think, if you're in them 7 to 10 range, like they were, they're 7 to 10, and played half the season with the backup quarterback. I think they have a shot to turn things around. But I'm not going to forget the fact that they were struggling before that got hurt too. So it wasn't like that just ended the season and it went from there. There was problems. There were problems. The Saints game. You can't deny the Saints game. They were healthy, and they played what turned out to be a bad football team, and the Saints just looked unstoppable. They were unstoppable. The Cowboys couldn't do anything there. I'd like to take another break real quick. I know we have Dylan on the line, but let me take a break real quick on Cowboys Storyline. I'll be right back after this.
Cowboys fans, when it comes to navigating the ever-changing world of tax, your business needs a partner it can trust to tackle even your biggest tax challenges. Ryan is the largest firm in the world dedicated exclusively to business taxes. Our team of tax professionals has local expertise in all areas of tax and can help you uncover savings opportunities you didn't know you had. Learn more about how Ryan can improve your overall corporate tax performance by visiting Ryan.com. Ryan, the official tax partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
There is no I in Dallas. There is no I in Hart either. No I in Blue Star or in Lone Star for that matter. And there's no I in how about them Cowboys? Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football is a we thing, an experience that is best enjoyed together. With good drinks and good folks, home or away, we rally together. We cry together. And we always rally cry together because there's definitely no I in Cowboys fans. Smirnoff, we do game days. Please drink responsibly.
To Cowboys Storyline.
Action-packed motorsports experience in the world returns to Arlington. Head to AT&T Stadium Saturday, March 8th for Monster Jam. The official ticketing partner of AT&T Stadium is SeatGeek.com. That's where you can get your tickets to Monster Jam. Always wanted to do that. Feel that seems appropriate there. I've never been to Monster Jam, but I've always heard the reads for it. Bigfoot, Gravedigger, all that good stuff. Good stuff. All right, there, Monster Jam. That's tomorrow, March 8th. So hopefully you're in the area if you want to check out the Monster Jam. All right, Dylan in Northport, Florida has been waiting. Dylan.
Hey, Nick. What's going on?
How are you?
I'm all right. That was a good read, man. It sounded good. It reminded me of my childhood when I saw those commercials. Sunday.
Sunday. Gravedigger takes on Bigfoot 3. Yeah. Good stuff. That or wrestling. It sounds like you're doing a call for wrestling.
It's the same guy doing all the voiceovers.
Yeah, it's probably the same fans too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, probably.
Anyways,
expanding on the whole thing about the cap. Just a real quick point. I did some math on the guys they're losing, like the depth pieces they're losing. It's about $35 million worth of just depth guys, and that doesn't account for like Brandon Cooks and Zack Martin and those guys. So figure $30 to $35 million probably in just depth replacements they're going to have to pay for on 1-year contracts, 2-year contracts, whatever it might be. So I'm looking for them to sign a bunch of guys because they got to sign guys. I mean, they don't have the bodies, so they're going to have to sign players.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to be looking at guys in the $3 million or less range, and then maybe if we get aggressive, we'll look at DT and some linebackers, maybe in that $8 million range. But that's kind of what I'm looking for. Maybe not first wave of free agency, but maybe second and third.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be different. There's no way around it. Like they will have to sign players, and they're going to sign. This isn't one of those 12 and 5 years where we love all our guys and you just bring them back and all that. I will say this, and I hope, and you're one of the smartest callers that we have here. There's no doubt about it, and I'm not necessarily talking to you, but I do think there's a perception out there that like Osa Odighizuwa is not a guy that they signed in free agency, when in reality, to me, he definitely is. Like he's a free agent type player. They said, no, we're not letting you get there. You're with us. We drafted you. We've developed you. You're here. But that is definitely a free agent move that they've made. It's not like, here comes free agency. Look at the Cowboys once again, not doing anything. They've done something already. There's no doubt about it. They have done something already, and they got a guy and made sure he didn't go to another team. That is a big move. I hope fans can realize that, but.
No, that's a good point because it does always slip our minds. He's already here, so it kind of just gets swept under the rug, but it's a fair point.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely it counts a lot, actually, $20 million a year's worth. But
that's a discount, too. That's a good deal.
Shockingly, it is. And you know what's funny? And I know you have a question here, but I think this is kind of funny. We have over by my office, we have two screens that are up. One's NFL Network, one's ESPN or whatever. And the ESPN said the Cowboys have reached a deal with Osa for 4-year $80. $20 million a year. And you look over the next screen, and it said the Eagles have signed Saquon Barkley to an extension of $21 million a year. And you're thinking, here's Osa, who's good, solid player, maybe on the verge of being a Pro Bowler, and here's a guy jumping backwards over people and should have probably won MVP in my opinion. And that's the difference between a running back and a defensive tackle, and the money that Barkley's about the same as Osa, and that's the market. That's not one GM versus the other. That's what the market tells you. Sorry.
Well, Osa got paid because he's a pass rusher. He's not. I mean, it's a segue to my next point, so it's perfect. Osa, he needs a really good one technique next to him. He's never really had one.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at PFF rankings because I'm not a big X's and O's guy. I don't know what I'm looking at in film for defensive tackle. So I go by PFF and their grades a lot as a base, and they've never ranked him higher than 36 against the run with any DTs, 1Ts, 3Ts across the NFL. And so I think that'll improve if he gets a nice one technique next to him. Just like every other position, you get a guy next to you that does his job really good. Mm-hmm. Well, it only enhances what you do. So, I'm not super excited about the Osa signing, even though it is a really good deal. I'll be way more excited about it once they sign a nice one technique. And you can get one techniques for cheap, man, because they don't rush the passer, so they're not like super coveted dudes that like break the bank. You're talking $6 to $8 million for like a really good one technique against the run, who's in the top 15 to 20 ranked defensive tackles in that regard. So whether that's in the draft now, I think they should still draft a guy to draft and develop, but I think they also need to bring a guy in, and once we do that, man, I'll be way more pumped about this defensive line moving forward, and Osa specifically.
Yep, 100% agree. Dylan, you have anything else?
No, that's it, man. Thanks. Have a good one.
Good stuff, man. Good to hear from you. There's not going to be many positions that I would be disappointed with in the first round with the Cowboys take at 12. Now, free agency is going to change some things, but not really, because it's just different type of player. You want to put some guys in, this guy will help you now and all that. But if you feel like this player is the best player, and we're talking about a 5-year investment, it doesn't really matter. Nobody that no one's going to say, well, you already picked up this guy in free agency. Why would you draft him? If that's the guy, that's the guy. And so other than quarterback and tight end, those are really the only two positions that I see that you wouldn't make a case for. I don't love the wide receiver spot there at 12, but I didn't love it at 17 either. In 2020. But, CeeDee Lamb, the light was just flashing. Here he is. He's dropping. And I remember that year because it was 2020. We were doing the draft show. We were doing like a live show of remote. Everybody was remote, and it was the one that Jamie Foxx was doing with DeMarcus Ware. And they had different guests coming in, and it was my turn to be on right when the Cowboys were picking. And I remember Jamie Foxx, of all people, asking me, what do you think here? You still like this defensive guy? Chase on, it's about to be. And I said, well, Jamie, here I am. Well, Jamie, I don't know. That CeeDee Lamb sure does look pretty good. I understand the defensive stuff, but I don't know how you can pass this guy. He was like, okay, well, that's a good thought. And then they draft him. Again, I'm sitting in my house because it's 2020. I don't know anything. And they draft CeeDee Lamb. So Jamie Foxx, like, you called it. So that's one of my claim to fames right there, is just having a nice little chat there on the draft with Jamie Foxx. Happens all the time. D. Ware, Jamie Foxx, is kind of what we do. Rick in Webster, Massachusetts. What's up, Rick?
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. It's been a while, like a week and a half.
Sure. It's been a while. Yeah, it's not every day. Certainly miss the everyday back and forth, but giving everybody a little bit of a break, get us rolling though. We'll be back to business again here before you know it.
Yeah. But my thing was as far as free agency goes, I think we'll dabbling in it, but the four free agents that I'm kind of looking for are like Tyler Lockett as a wide receiver, Nick Bolton as a linebacker, Will Hernandez as an offensive tackle, and Puna Ford as a defensive tackle.
I like what you're thinking, Rick. I like it. Now, Will Hernandez, he was with the Cardinals, right?
Correct.
Okay, so he's got the ties to Clayton Adams. Does any of those other players have ties like that? Lockett, Schottenheimer? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were there other ties to those players? Is that why you just blindly threw those guys out there, or do they all have some kind of connections?
No, they don't have. No, the other ones don't have connections, I know, but
they fit.
I've heard a lot of their names mentioned from Brian Broaddus and everybody else.
Sure.
And,
Puma Ford, I think, would be a perfect complement type player to Osa. Of what Dylan was just talking about, just that one technique, hard to move. That's what they need. I mean, they definitely need a guy like that. I'm not sure that really should be Mozzie's position. I think Mozzie and Osa should be the three techniques. But
they don't break the bank, those players. So
yeah, no, I like it. I like those four that you're talking about. Those could be some really good. Will Hernandez, I think, would be a really good pick. I mean, he's got some nastiness to him, especially if he comes in knowing kind of what they're trying to do up front. He was a guy they really liked back in the day, and it's been a while, but they liked him. I can't remember what draft it was, but I know because Broaddus was here. Broaddus would not stop talking about him, and he's had a good, solid career. He might be a good type of plug-and-play type guard that you would need there.
That's it. So have a good weekend,
right,
and we'll talk next week.
All right, sounds good. Good to hear from you. Let's keep it going here. Making sure I don't have any more questions from the chat. You guys, if you're listening, remember if you joined us kind of late, this is the first time we're adding a new feature in our chat to the app. You can watch the show on the app. You can chat with each other. You could send some questions in. We've had a few already come in there. This is something we're trying. This is a new feature we're doing. Starting it with this show, should be doing it to other shows. As we get a little bit down the road a little bit, but wanted to see kind of how it's going so far. So hopefully you guys can be a part of that and ask some more questions. And if you do ask some questions on here, put your name on here. We can read it just like we do some of the calls and some of the text lines. All right, Chris in Saratoga Springs, New York. Chris, what's up?
Hey, Nick. Happy Friday.
Hey, appreciate it. Happy Friday to you. How are you?
Not bad. I'm glad it's Friday. That's for sure. I'm ready for free agency to start, ready for the draft, getting pumped up for that. You just said a minute ago that we're all set at quarterback and tight end, but what happens if that tight end from Penn State slips and is there at 12?
Is that a slip? Is that a slip? I mean, I say it all the time. I watch all these mock drafts come through, and I just saw one that said Ashton Genty at 22 to Pittsburgh. So I'm a little surprised by that. But is Warren is his name, right? I don't remember his first name.
Yeah.
Tyler Warren from Penn State. Is he a guy that's before 12? I mean, I
get to go before 12. Yeah.
You think he will? Okay. I haven't looked at it that closely. I know he's in that range. And I don't think so. That's a tough one. Like that would have to go to how he's rated, because the reason why I say it's a tough one for me is if you have a dynamic tight end, changes everything. It really does. If you have a guy like Kelsey's been for Kansas City, who can play inside, can play outside, he messes up your entire defensive alignment. That makes these other receivers so valuable because he is a mismatch nightmare. And if you have that at tight end, you're different. And so, if he's that guy, then you're right. Maybe so. What do you see at him? You follow him his career a little bit more? Or?
I have. He is. They compare him to George Kittle, and obviously George Kittle's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Cover.
Yeah. You're telling me I've covered the Cowboys 49ers games. I mean.
Yeah.
If
you paired him with Jim Ferguson, I don't know what the defenses would do. I think it would open it up for our wide receivers, because to have both of those guys on the field at the same time. I mean, this guy's played running back. He's played quarterback. He's played wide receiver. He lines up at wide receiver. He lines up everywhere. And they said he's literally a nightmare matchup for teams. I don't know. I'm hoping he's not there at 12. because I don't know what they would do if he is there, but I think he's going to be a heck of a pro, to be honest.
I'm watching
last
the draft real quick though, Chris. I'm watching the draft, a mock draft here that's going by here. I haven't seen his name at 20 yet, and I see another tight end that just went, Loveland, but I haven't seen, unless I missed the first 5 picks. Anyways, maybe I did. Maybe is he a top 5 pick?
He's in I've seen him in the top 10 in multiple ones.
Because I just saw it, and Genty went at 6, and Shador Sanders went 7. He's kind of fallen a little bit. Maybe I missed the first 5, and he went there, and I can't even read who Eric Edlum from I think from NFL.com. But it's just funny. Nobody knows right now. Like nobody knows. I just saw 2 mock drafts in a row. One's got Genty going 22. One's got him going 6. Eric Edholm, his first mock draft. Who knows? If he's that guy, maybe. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, it's crazy to me. Here comes another mock draft coming through, and it's Travis Hunter's 5th. If Travis Hunter hasn't been picked in the top 4 picks, and he's sitting there at 5, if I'm Jerry Jones, I'm getting on the phone. What does it take?
Yeah.
I think he's a generational player. There's no way. I'm sorry. There's no way he's going to go. He's not going to go 1 or 2. I just saw in this other mock Tyler Warren 14 to the Colts. I see that a lot actually. Warren to the Colts. They must need a tight end. Sorry, I'm all over the map here, Chris. I know you got another question.
No.
Go for it.
No, I had one more. What is your thoughts on linebacker from San Fran, Greenlaw, signing to him, coming back with that San Fran coach we snagged from them?
I'm a fan of his, Dre Greenlaw, just because, I'm an Arkansas guy, and he was a better pro than he was as a college player. And he was a good college player, but he's been even a better pro, which kind of pisses you off a little bit when you're an Arkansas fan. You're like, really? Like, you got a Pro Bowl player, but he wasn't an all-conference player. And, again, SEC it's hard to beat sometimes, be all-conference. But he's been a really, really good player. There's no doubt about it. Achilles injuries are tough. Think about it, and think about how he had that injury. Wasn't it at the Super Bowl, like, walking onto the field? Scary stuff. It happens. Freaky type play. But if he's back and at a level, yeah, I could definitely see that. I think he's even from the area, so he might have some interest there. But it's about value, and you're going to get value on a player that's coming off an injury like that. And is he back? Is he gonna be a comeback type player? That's what it comes down to. That's how you steal value, and Jerry's all about it. That's why he does 2nd-round picks that are coming off some kind of injuries or some kind of issue. He's always tried to do it, and that would be the case with free agency too. All right, Chris.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for the call. Let's go to Armando. He's in Mexico City. Armando.
Hey, Nick. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Glad to find you because it's getting tougher once a week and then moving days. It's hard.
I'm sorry. Well, moving target, but you found us.
Yeah. So,
hey, I have to ask you a question. Armando, I'm asking you a question. Among your friends and family, do they consider you like the funny guy?
Well, I don't know. I guess
because you're hilarious to me. Like, I don't know if you're even trying to be funny, but every time you talk, whether it be your girlfriend that you from 49ers fan that you're going to put in the portal or something like that, like you're hilarious to me. I just wonder, do your friends and family think you're as funny? I think you're pretty funny.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate that. But that's kind of natural, so not something that I actually work on. So
then that's why it's funny. Then that's why it's funny. If you're not even trying, you're just like, it's good. All right, sorry. Go ahead, man.
No, that's fine, Nick. Thanks. Well, just wondering now that I so far I like what they've done on free agency with their own free agents. I like the signing of Osa. Do you think that changes the way they're going to draft? I mean, thinking of a defensive line on the first 2 or 3 rounds?
I don't think it should change their thought. I said that a few minutes ago. If you've got another defensive tackle that can be, that's rated high, go for it. I mean, he would be 5 years behind Osa. So get another guy in there. I know Washington, they had Allen and Payne for years. Like, it was tough. Now, they didn't have a lot of help on the other side, but, I mean, they kept them in games when they weren't as talented because you just couldn't run the ball in there. So if you've got another guy – now, the only thing about that is you've got Mozzie and you've got now Osa. They both seem to be 3-technique type guys. So I would need another defensive tackle that's pretty big, maybe a 1-technique. And I don't know if you're going to see that in the first couple rounds. Maybe. But I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to it, but I think it'd probably need to be a different size. I'd rather have a defensive end and there. I still think they need a little bit more pass rush help.
Yeah, especially with the Marcus Lawrence situation. Huh?
Yeah, I just see a news alert that I just mentioned. Jonathan Allen looks like the Commanders are releasing him. He's had some injuries, but hey, I mean that'd be it. I'm telling you, it's about to get really fun around here. It really is. I have a feeling this year is going to be one of the better years that we've seen in a while from the Cowboys free agency. I just think the vibes are good. The vibes have never been better from the coaching staff. Everyone's loving it. And I even think Jerry and Steven are gonna give, when you give somebody, a new position here, you want to look right. You want to say, this is the right move. You're going to do everything you can to kind of help him. And so I think they're going to give him a little bit more resources than maybe we've seen in the past. And I think this is the year to do it. You're coming off a year you missed the playoffs. I mean, try to turn things around.
Well, we'll see.
All right.
Hoping.
All right.
Well, nice talking to you, Nick. See
you too. All right. See you later, Armando. Good stuff. All right. Well, it's been a fun show. Appreciate you guys
got one more
calling it. We do have another call?
Yeah, I have it on there.
I don't see it. So just give it to me blind. Just play him in there. We'll see if I know who it is. Maybe it's first time.
No, it's not going to be first time calling.
All right, let's just see. Welcome to the show. What's up?
I think you're going to know who this is, and definitely not a first-time caller.
That's how you end the show. I like it. All right, let's go out with a bang. Rob in Vegas, what's up? I'm glad you made it in. I don't see it on the list, but that's all right.
Listen, you're hearing the fans, you hear guys don't have, much hope, and then you hear guys, I like what they're doing. So far, citing Osa, he got paid good money for a good player, good money in NFL terms.
Yeah.
So I thought that was actually a good move. I'm not going to give them credit if they sign Micah. Tell me an owner that wouldn't sign him. So,
well, what if they get? I mean, honestly, what would you give them credit for signing him like now and try to create a little space and keep some money out there so they can go get some other free agents? Would you give them credit for that if they do that? They haven't done it. If they do,
no. Listen, we keep talking about this team, and I keep hearing people say rebuild. A team with a top 10 quarterback, top 2 receiver, and Micah Parsons, teams like that don't rebuild.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't know who's saying that, but I don't agree with that either. This is not a rebuild.
I keep hearing the other caller said, this is a rebuild. No, and what you want to prove something to me and the fan, you just restructured Dak. Now, why would you do that? Because that's a bad move, technically, if you're not going to go for it in the next 2 to 3 year window that you're going to have. So I agree with the call. Go get a Greenlaw. Draft-wise, you need a running back. You need a wide receiver. A guy like Keenan Allen's out there. That would be a good wide receiver.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all.
Speed-wise, you got Turpin. I know you don't like Turpin, but when I say
No. I like Turpin. I
know.
Okay.
You don't like him as the deep threat.
Yeah, as just the deep threat. I think he can be a gadget guy. He can really be a mismatch guy, but I want more of a traditional receiver as a deep threat too. Don't get me wrong.
See,
I love Turpin.
I think he'd be great in the slot like Cole Beasley was, just faster.
Yeah.
And I think if you get a Keenan Allen, a big wide receiver who is consistently good. Devontae Adams sounds good. They're not paying him. I don't need another $25 million guy. But like I said, Jerry, now he's I don't know why he does it. I know he's older. My father just turned 88 yesterday. I get it. You say some stuff. Why would you just be quiet? Why are you talking? Well, I don't see you filling any spots at free agency. You have to, because if you don't, you can't compete. Just be quiet. Enjoy the Osa success. It's one of the few moves that I think every fan was like, hey, that was a pretty good move you made. Enjoy, but you're going to have to bring in some really good players, because Philadelphia is. That's the problem. Make some moves, and now that you restructured Dak, you're gonna live with him now for 4 years at least. Let's go for it. Let's build. We're not that far behind if we get some good pieces and do some good things in the draft. But you got to spend some money. I'm sorry, you just have to.
Okay. Appreciate the call. Thanks, Rob. As always, great way to end the show. I'm gonna say one thing. Sometimes you have to kind of decipher a little bit with what Jerry's saying. I think really what he said in this case was he doesn't think that you're filling the void that you have. If you have a void, that you fill it with free agency. We don't have a corner. We got to fill it there. I think the voids are the backup spots. Now they're gonna get some, and I say that really more from like a cornerback standpoint. They're gonna sign some players that are gonna be starters on this team. So if that happens, you guys might call that a void. Hey, we need another linebacker. They signed this guy. He's probably gonna start. Eric Kendricks, they didn't really have a linebacker. They signed him, and that kind of filled a void that they have. They're going to do that. I don't think it matters what Jerry said there, because they are going to do that. And I think in y'all's minds that is a void. If you need something and he's going to come in here and help start, and they signed him, that's filling a void. I think Jerry's talking more about like a void means I don't have a problem anymore. They're not going to sign guys like that, because that's very rare in free agency that you bring a player in free agency and now you don't have the issue anymore. I mean, I guess Philly thought that way, when they drafted, or when they brought in Zack, Saquon Barkley. Like, okay, now we're good there. But that's rare. I mean, you're going to go sign a free agent player, and that doesn't mean you wouldn't draft that same position, because these free agents are going to be 1 year, 2 year. It's not a 5-year investment, really, like it is in the draft. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. They have to sign players in free agency, whether it be their own or outside. They're going to sign a lot more from the outside than they have in the past, and some of those guys are going to start, and I think in your mind, that's going to be filling a void. I think it might just be seeing it a little bit different way. They're going to do that. They're going to sign key players in free agency this year, probably more than ever, and I think you're going to be excited about it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my take on it. I wouldn't worry so much about what Jerry is saying. I never worry about that. I always go back to the 4 days before the 2016 draft, when they told us that running back is not the value anymore like it used to be. You just don't draft them that high. And 4 days later, Ezekiel Elliott was flying into Dallas. this is the time of year where you don't have to show your hand all the time. I think they're going to do more than you think. All right, great show, guys, as always. Got to get out of here on a Friday. We'll be back to regular schedule on Wednesday next week. That's the first day of free agency. Plenty to talk about then. We'll talk about it then Wednesday on Cowboys Storyline. So for Chris, Beam, and also I'm going to give a shout out to the people working on the app back there and getting some of those questions in. Josh and Fasika, great job as well. Appreciate the hard work everyone has done. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week on Cowboys Storyline.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?